Welcome to our In Focus discussion tonight on previewing Utah's Pride Week. Last year, COVID-19 forced organizations like the Utah Pride Center to rethink how to host events that normally have large gatherings, such as Pride Week. They ended up canceling their festival and parade in 2020 and hosting a road rally. This year, they'll be resuming limited in-person festivities, but with some new and unique elements. Joining us first is Billy Klaus, who will be volunteering at the event. And Billy, thank you so much for joining us on a Friday night, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Billy, what does Pride mean to you personally? How do you like to celebrate it? And what thoughts or feelings do you typically have during this time each year?
Yeah, Pride to me is a multifaceted event that kind of represents what it's like to be LGBTQ. On one hand, it's a celebration of how far we've come and that we get to be who we are authentically, but it's also a time to reflect. Reflect on where we've come from, the people who helped us get here, and then also take some time to think about members of our community who have different experiences than our own, and to also reflect on what it's like for people around the world who are LGBTQ. Personally, I like to celebrate Pride by going to community events. I think they're so important for building community and fostering connection, especially after this year we've all had.
Right. This past year has been particularly tough for the LGBTQ plus community, given the combination, right, of the related bills in this year's legislative session and debate around inclusion in schools. So why is Pride Week so important?
Yeah, Pride Week is so important, especially this year, because we need the connection more than ever. The way I see it, Pride is very much a suicide prevention tool. It's a way that we get to see ourselves represented, which is so important, especially for youth. The events we have this year, they're not on the fringes. They're very much in the heart of Salt Lake City. We have stuff on State Street, at Washington Square Park, and it's a way to show people that they belong in the LGBTQ plus community, but also within Utah as a whole. We help make up this great state. Yeah, it's such an important time, especially after this hard year everyone's had. There's been a lot of legislation targeting specifically trans youth, which is just tragic. And I'd wager that every person who is part of our community has had a time where they felt like they weren't included, whether that was at a time when there was legislation targeting their rights, whether that's censorship of queer art in higher education, or whether that's a community member telling them that their quote-unquote lifestyle isn't acceptable. And it's so important now to come together, take some time to block out the noise and celebrate how far we've come, and that we have a space not just in the queer community, but specifically as part of the Utah community.
Right, so important, right? That visibility, that inclusion, and that acceptance. Now, one of the features at this year's Pride Festival is the Story Garden. I'm really excited to talk about this. Tell us about your personal tie and what your vision is behind it.
Yeah, so the Utah Pride Story Garden is a unique event. It's one of a kind, and it was kind of birthed out of the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's a series of 20 outdoor exhibits that will be at Washington Square Park, where we normally would have the festival. And it's a uniquely Utah experience that tells our history, our stories, and our community. So we have exhibits that range in theme. They're educational, they're interactive, they're fun, there's something for everyone, and I've been fortunate to help coordinate the content going in the exhibit and tell some of the visual story through the graphic design. And it's so exciting to be able to see this come together.
And I just want to let our viewers know that what they're seeing here on the screen is kind of a preview, right, of what they'll see at the Story Garden next week. Tell us about how many parts is the Story Garden divided into, and maybe you did elaborate on this a little bit about the themes and the subjects. Maybe tell us a little bit about what we're seeing on screen right now.
Yeah, so there are 20 exhibits within this garden, each with its own theme. So some are educational, such as the one you're seeing right now. This is from the award winners garden, so it features winners of the Kristen Reese Award. We have pieces that are going to be on LGBTQ civil rights and the history of that. What you're seeing right now is LGBTQ plus around the world, so it's both positive and negative. The experiences people have vary greatly based on where they live. And then we also have pieces on Utah queer history. Right now you're seeing some pieces from the Transgender Garden, which talks about identity and resources for members of that community. We also have some interactive pieces such as the Studio 54 dance party. That will be COVID safe, but still some time for you to jam out to some great music like you're in the club. We have features on local drag queens and yeah, a lot of amazing content.
It just shows how many different layers there are, right, to the stories within the LGBTQ plus community. How has the community contributed to the creation of the Story Garden?
Yeah, the community has been so vital to putting this together. 2 of our gardens are on community partners and supporters, organizations that are for our community and work often with them. So those are very resource-based. We have 2 gardens that have community artists, and I'm so excited for that one. I'm going to be like a kid in a candy shop on Christmas, all of that stuff put together to actually see all of the art in person. We have amazing pieces from paintings to photography, 3D installations. We have fashion pieces. We also have the Tribute and Memorial Garden, which is contributed from members of the community to honor people who have changed their lives for the better. That one is a very emotional garden. And then finally, we had a few where we partnered with community organizations and partners for Salt Lake is Burning, which discusses people of color in the state of Utah, and Transcending Gender, which talks about the trans experience.
Wow, you should be very proud. I can just see sort of your excitement in seeing all of your work since the beginning of this year come to fruition. Now, Billy, we have about 30 seconds left. I really want to know this. How does it feel knowing that your work as a designer is going to be featured front and center to thousands of people who are going to visit the garden?
Yeah, I mean, it's super exciting whenever you get your work seen as an artist or a designer. I'm so honored to have had the privilege to be able to work on this project with an amazing team of writers, editors, researchers. So many people helped create the content, and I've been so honored to help with the visual story.
Yeah, well, you've been hearing from Billy Klaus, volunteer for Utah Pride Week. And Billy, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. We're excited for the community to be able to enjoy the Story Garden.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for staying with us for our second In Focus discussion tonight on previewing Utah's Pride Week. Up next in our conversation is Isaiah Mataele, Community Engagement Manager at the Utah Pride Center, and Kevin Randall, spokesperson for the Utah Pride Center. Isaiah and Kevin, it's great to have the both of you. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having us here.
Thanks for having us, Rosie.
Now, I asked Billy this question, but I'd like to hear from the both of you as well. Isaiah, we'll start with you. What does Pride mean to you personally?
Yeah, so my coming out journey started when I was 18 and ended when I was 26, and I finally came out to my family as well as my workplace and to all my friends. Pride has always been that one time in my life where I can go out, I can see others like myself, I can be my true self, and truly feel as if I was loved for being me, and I was comfortable being me.
And I'll just echo what he says. You know, I spent a lot of years hiding who I am and hiding this part about me, that I'm gay. And even in the workplace, I had to hide quite a bit about myself. I couldn't be authentic. So pride for me means I can be authentic, I can be myself, and I can gather with all these other people, allies and LGBTQ plus community members, and just be free to be gay, to be part of the community and have fun.
And Kevin, I understand that this is also a time when you think about your uncle. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Yeah, so when I was 8 years old, my uncle passed away. I attended his funeral, and at the time I didn't realize how he died. It wasn't until I was an adult where I learned he died of AIDS at the age of 41, which isn't too far away from how old I am now. So pride for me also means being able to live authentically and live how he couldn't. You know, he wasn't able to be out and proud back then. It was a dangerous time. And although it has improved, there's still a lot of work to be done.
And I think that's something that we're hearing over and over in these conversations is, yes, we have made a lot of progress, but we're not at the finish line yet, right? We still have a long way to go. Now, what was it like last year having to cancel the in-person festivities for the Pride Festival and having to come up with a completely different experience for the community? And Isaiah, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, it was truly heartbreaking. We all look forward to Pride. Pride is like the second biggest festival here in the state of Utah, so not having that moment to see friends, especially when we were staying inside of our homes for the entire year, it was truly hard for us to make a pivot.
Even though it was a little bit overcast, I feel like Mother Nature gave us a little break, right, so that we can enjoy the road rally without rain even impeding. Kevin, the Utah Pride Center will be hosting one of the first, or I think the first, in-person Pride Week celebrations in the entire country since the COVID-19 pandemic initially shut down large gatherings. So what does this mean for the Pride Center as you're planning out all of these events? Like, no pressure, right? Or maybe just a little bit of pressure?
Maybe just a little bit. I think the rest of the country is looking to us to kind of set the standard of what to do during the pandemic. But I think this speaks a lot to the innovation and the creativity and their ability to pivot and adapt to these changing times. I mean, the majority of centers around the country have either canceled or scaled down quite a bit what their festivities are going to look like. The Utah Pride Center, on the other hand, is doing something pretty big and innovative and new. It's unique, and to be able to pull off what we've been able to pull off, to design 600 pieces that are going to exist in the Story Garden, to organize a march and a rally on Sunday. I mean, this is truly amazing what they've been able to pull off.
I'm guessing probably all of you haven't gotten much sleep in the past few days or the past few weeks. I love this footage that you've shared with us about all of the preparations that have gone into this. Isaiah, with mask mandates being lifted and restrictions being rolled back, how have you all pivoted during the COVID-19 pandemic and juggling these plans when the information is constantly changing, right?
Yeah, so the Pride Center has always valued the safety of our community members first and foremost. So we wanted to make sure that we were providing an event to the community, allowing the community members to see themselves, but that we were doing so in a COVID-safe way. So we still are having masks. We have limited, and we're not including any food or beverage vendors, but we are finding a way to allow everyone to get out, to see images where they can find their representation and see themselves reflected in it.
Right, and I think speaking to what Billy said earlier, it's really hard and almost not a good decision, right, to cancel the Pride Week events like every year because it saves lives, right? It's essentially suicide prevention. All right, Isaiah and Kevin, hold that thought. We do have to take a quick commercial break, but when we return, we'll resume our In Focus discussion on previewing Utah's Pride Week. Welcome to our third and final In Focus discussion tonight on previewing Utah's Pride Week. Before the break, we were joined by Isaiah Mataele, Community Engagement Manager at the Utah Pride Center, and Kevin Randall, spokesperson for the Utah Pride Center. We pick up now right where we left off. Now, Isaiah, this year's Pride Week will be in person, but there's a couple things that will still be a little bit different. Earlier, you talked about vendors, food, live entertainment. What's going to be some other things that are going to look different this year versus 2 years ago?
Yeah, so this year the Pride Story Garden will not have any beverage vendors or food vendors. Instead, we are providing a Pride Guide, a list of local bars and restaurants that are allowing safe places to continue celebrations of Pride, but not just at Washington Square. We also have a number of community members that won't be tabling, but instead they're presenting images and displays of what their organization does.
Right, so we have to get really creative here, right, to keep everybody safe still in this very unsure time. Now, Kevin, give a sneak peek about what's to come during this year's Pride Week. What are some of the events that the community can expect? Well,
we are going to have so much fun, and we're also going to educate the community. So it's going to start by kicking off with a flag raising ceremony at the City and County Building on Washington Square. Mayor Erin Mendenhall is going to raise the Pride flag like she does in the years past, and we cannot wait for that because it really sends a signal to everyone in the community that they are accepted, that they belong here, and it's important for city leaders and government leaders to show that to their community. Then there's going to be an interfaith service that night, which will be a gathering of everyone from all these different faiths to gather and show pride. And then come Thursday morning, we're going to have the grand opening of the Story Garden. And this is our big event this year. And it's going on for 5 days. And for 5 days, people will be able to enter into this maze-like outdoor exhibit that Billy talked about earlier and be able to learn our history, learn a little bit more about our community, where we came from, and what we're about. Who are the important people here in Utah that we should all know about? And this is a great opportunity for people who usually don't maybe feel comfortable going to a Pride parade or festival to bring their family, bring their kids to the Story Garden where they can learn more about this and educate ourselves. Because if we don't learn more about our history, we're bound to repeat it. And people in the LGBTQ community have just fought way too hard to see where things are going today, to see all this debate and everything else. So I think it's important that we really hone into our roots, right? And what's really great about that is I was going to say parade, the rally and march that's coming up on Sunday. That's what I'm really excited about, because we'll be able to return to our protesting roots where people fought for equality and be able to march from the Capitol down State Street over to Liberty Park, all of it together with balloons overhead and signs in our hands, fighting for equality once again.
And I think this year is going to be so significant because we've spent more than a year in isolation, right? In quarantine.
And we're all ready to get out.
We're all ready to get out and come together as a community. I don't think some people understand the importance of having that support, right? That visibility, that acceptance, that inclusion. And we got a little bit of that last year because the Pride Center did shift, right? Its events a little bit. But then we went, another few months, right? Being in quarantine and not being able to see each other and whatnot. And so I feel like this year is going to be extra special. I also wanted to mention or talk about the Pride Parade. This is an event that ABC4 News actually participates in every year. We do march in the Pride Parade every year. Is that still going to happen this year?
So the parade isn't going to be the same thing that it was previously. The Rainbow March and Rally, we are using it as an opportunity to amplify marginalized voices. We have speakers from community organizations such as Urban Indian Center. We have Black Lives Matter. We have a Polynesian poet. We really wanted to make sure that representation was there and that we were providing that to the community as they came out and saw this event and were able to hear these words. Our hope is that they'd be able to see themselves in this.
Right, so there will still be something there, right, for us to come together and spend time and be visible together. Now, Isaiah, tell us about your unicorn donors. What does it mean to be one, and how does it help those who may have trouble attending the festival?
Yeah, so because things are different this year, the ticket access is limited. So the number of individuals that are allowed into the Story Garden at a single time is also limited. So you do have to purchase tickets for the event. A unicorn donor is someone who purchases a ticket for themselves, but also gives the ticket away with the purchase. So you're able to buy tickets for yourself, buy it for your entire family, but as a unicorn donor, you're able to purchase it for yourself and give one also. And for the community who would like to receive a unicorn ticket, they are able to apply for unicorn scholarships at utahpridecenter.org.
I love that so much. Kevin, how has the response been to your call for volunteers for this event?
Well, what I've been told, and Emily Walker is the one who organizes all the volunteers, and she does an amazing job. But usually on the years where we have the parade and festival, it requires about 1,000 people to manage this. But this year, with the way the Story Garden is designed, we really only need about 300 or 400 people, and we have had an overwhelming number of people wanting to help out at the Story Garden. And unfortunately, we've had to turn some people away. There's just been so many people that have signed up. But we want to tell everyone, if you want to participate, please join us at the Story Garden. Buy your tickets online at utahpridecenter.org, and then join us at the March and Rally on Sunday. That's an opportunity for everyone to be involved. And there's also going to be other volunteer opportunities throughout the year, including the Road Rally in October.
And I think just being there, being someone who's listening to these stories at the Story Garden, it has a big impact, even though to some people it may not feel like it. Okay, we have about a minute left. There's 2 more questions I want to squeeze in. Kevin, if there's someone watching who wants to get involved beyond just attending, what can they do? Is there anything else that they could do if they want to help out?
I think everyone can help out by posting their pride flag outside their house. And getting those rally and yard signs and posting them in your yard. This is a way for you to show pride so that anyone walking past your door can see that they're accepted in your home. And just, again, I can't stress this enough, go to the Story Garden. It's going to be a new and unique experience. Join us at the rally and march. It's going to be awesome.
And Isaiah, tell everyone how they can get tickets to the Story Garden. I understand they can only be bought online.
Yes, tickets can be purchased at utahpridecenter.org. We will have a box office available for purchases at the Story Garden itself, but because access is limited, there is no guarantee that there is available space in your time. So definitely get your ticket before you come.
Get them now rather than later. They're hot and they might not be there if you wait too long. All right,
your Pride mask. We can't wait. Happy
there's
Pride.
Happy
Happy Pride.
Stay safe. All right, you've been hearing from Isaiah Mata LA, Community Engagement Manager at the Utah Pride Center, and Kevin Randall, spokesperson for the Utah Pride Center. There's a lot to look forward to next week. Thank you both for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Rosie.
Thank you, Rosie.